right? I mean, I'll fuck it up, but here goes. Listen to this, isn't it neat? Wouldn't you think that the podcast's complete? Wouldn't you think that that's it? We've got everything. We've got stories and features aplenty.
Wrong!
We've got block switch and tails wits galore. Want preparation? Not got any. So you scream, that's a big deal. We want more. So fucking go to patreon.com/shamecity. Alright? I mean, I did fuck it up, but...
Look for the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities.
What were you going to say?
I was just going to say...
So it was the weirdest little high-pitched
It's
noise.
'cause I was going to say, how is he, by the way? Because I haven't
Singing
seen
guy.
him in ages.
No, well, I haven't replied to him. He was supposed to be here in a couple of days.
But then, just as the exited my throat, you pressed record, and I was like, I don't want to ruin the whole thing.
Hello and welcome to episode 66. How? Said Declan.
Of That's a Shame.
This is the one.
Make sure they know.
Yeah, well, I mean, you didn't just click on anything and wonder what it was, surely. I'm Isaac.
actually convinced that that's how half of our listeners
At
are
least.
here.
Just fluke. And you are?
I'm Declan.
Good. Now, we've got an experiment this week.
We have.
Have we talked about this on air before? We must have done.
We have.
Right, so
Yes.
there's this definite criminal front in London at the moment called Etify, and their promise is that they'll deliver anything to you in under an hour with no minimum fee and no delivery charge. So you can order, as I did yesterday, a 42p bottle of water and it will arrive within an hour, in theory. In fact, mine yesterday was 27 minutes, something like that. Declan, as we've probably talked about before, historically poor luck, not just with Etify, just in general,
Just
really.
with everything. I mean, today has been an example
How so?
of that. Well, just driving wise,
yeah.
more people trying to kill me, more people racing in front, more people getting away.
Do you think you'd
with
like to
things
revise last week's question about the hunch about how you're going to die to be driving?
No, because I think actually we're very close to me turning the tables, and I'm just going to become a sort of vehicular vigilante.
Oh,
of sorts.
car boy.
Yeah.
Just running people off the road left, right and centre.
Yeah.
I guess someone has to.
Someone has to teach these people because, as we mentioned, what with all these debt levs just letting them in and doing what they want,
Oh, yeah.
they're getting no comeuppance. Actually, this reminds me, it's a real shame that I'm always driving when I pass these signs because I'd quite like to take a photo. But there are these signs around Ruislip.
Oh, my
Yeah.
God. You cannot keep bringing up Ruislip
Look,
on my podcast.
It's where I go, okay?
Go somewhere else,
It's
mate.
far more interesting than here, even though it's miles
It
away.
can't be.
But there are these yellow signs every now and then
It's the Ruislip way.
that are about road safety.
Uh-huh.
And they're about, please slow down. And it says on it, last year we had, and then kind of tacked onto each other in a 50,
Right.
50 deaths.
Just in Ruislip.
Yep. And there's that on
Bloody
the
hell.
road last year.
And it was all the same guy.
A poor fuck. The only person unluckier than me.
That old woman driving people off the road.
But what amuses me is that instead of like taking that off or whatever, that 50 has a red line through it.
Right.
And next to it is 39
For this year.
which makes it which I presume is the case, but it makes it look like 11 of them just came back.
Or they just like it was a rounding error.
Yeah.
They were like,
Okay,
Whoops.
all right. So not 50, but it was nearly 50.
Yeah, that's not the most kind of respectful way to allude to those deaths.
No,
is it?
those 50, gone. Fuck them.
It's when people say like, "Oh, you don't want to become another statistic." It's not normally a threat that I'm going to make you one on a yellow sign and
I'm going
roast
to
you.
cross you out.
Yeah, next year. Anyway, so this Etify thing, we're going to do it live on air. We're going to try and pledge, in theory, that this episode will take as long as this delivery takes.
Yeah.
Now, that could work out badly because I've got some chili cooking away. If it's over an hour, then you're going to have to solo the rest of the show.
All right.
But, my luck is normally pretty good. Yours is...
Very, very poor.
And so I'm hoping we're going to meet in the middle.
The average time for one of your deliveries seems to be about 40 minutes.
Probably a bit less, yeah.
And the average time for mine thus far is 2.5 hours.
And it must be skewed heavily by the ones... Didn't one just simply never arrive?
Oh, yeah, well, one of them I told them to go fuck themselves.
So I guess that's really, adding an upward bound on the data.
I'm wondering if... I know we haven't got an enormous sample size, but whether I should order it through you.
Oh, no.
To see if it changes it.
No,
see if it's just they see me.
My account as well. And I don't need that. But we're going to do this order live on air. Now, you might be thinking, this is unorthodox radio.
But here we go. This is the sort of feature that all your Patreon money buys.
Wow. This 42p water, what are you going to get from Etify today?
I'm going to get some beer.
Have you noticed that a lot of the things are within seconds of their expiry date, and it makes you sign a contract that says, I will accept this product when you bring it to me, even though the Skittles are seconds from mould.
Seconds from mould. The Isaac BD story.
Don't go giving me that story.
What do you want?
I'd like a Fanta Fruit Twist.
A Fanta Fruit
do
Twist? That was right on the front page a second ago.
That's probably why. It's in
No, it's been replaced by a sachet of Coleman's beef casserole.
That's what I meant. A sachet of casserole.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Lucozade Zero Orange.
Simply don't want that.
What colour have they plucked for Zero Orange?
Well, if there's zero orange, I'm guessing it's just going to be clear.
I'm afraid the answer was brown.
Oh, zero orange, 100% brown.
Okay, Fanta Fruit Twist doesn't exist anymore, so let me just give it a little...
Yeah, just get me a soft drink of some sort. I think that's all I need.
Fanta Fruit Twist.
Because this is for science, isn't it? It's not. We're not supposed to enjoy or reap the benefits of it.
Wow, would you believe Fanta Fruit Twist, plastic bottle, 2 litre, it's got no reviews.
Wow.
No one's bothered to review
Let's
it.
fix that mid-show. I'm going to leave such a long and poetic review for that Fruit Twist.
And then let's get...
What else?
2 packets of Skittles.
Oh, good idea. Just standard red Skittles or what?
Of
Yeah, a classic. You don't want to mess with
No,
that.
exactly.
While you're doing that, I'm going to read an email that we've had.
Go right ahead.
The shame mail segment is nothing if not flexibly placed within the show. So here it comes, part 1. We've got a message from Noah entitled Children Experiences. Interesting 2-word phrase.
Now, we sometimes talk about how some email headings we really like. There was that one from Emily that was like...
Passionate agreement.
Yeah, we thought, yes. Children experiences. Now, this isn't criticism, Noah. This is advice. Yeah.
Do it as one of those sandwiches. Do you know about those?
Yeah, so
What's it
positive,
called?
negative,
Feedback
positive.
sandwich?
Yes.
Shit name.
God,
That's
that
what it
sounds
is.
horrid. That sounds like something they need feedback on.
Yeah.
Loved the enthusiasm.
Yeah.
There was a bit of a question of criminality about the content matter,
Big fan of the brevity.
but it did give us a laugh.
Yeah, very much so.
There you go, see?
And it's a short email, short title, short email. As a similarly sham teacher, the tutor anecdotes are very good. Keep them up. And that was it. So I replied to ask for some more information about what teaching Noah was doing. And it turns out much more interesting than what we're doing. Listen to this.
Well, whose life isn't?
I do robotics education for elementary students, which means parents pay way too much to have me babysit elementary kids playing with Lego, in caps, as per the brand name, for 2 hours. Also, though, nothing is more despicable than parents watching me teach. The more they do that, the more they'll figure out I don't actually teach anything. It's very true. What's your advice for how to handle the parents sitting in on a lesson? I try and turn it into like a sort of performance piece.
Oh, I just make sure to use a lot of long words they won't understand. And then when the child inevitably asks or looks confused, I explain them. So they
Why don't you ask your mum? Oh,
They feel,
idiot.
she's a fucking Detlev.
of the highest order.
Although the other day, it got to the point because the people that I tutor in Rice,
Stop.
I do the tutoring in the kitchen, and their mum is kind of like coming in and out, and I was talking about Gothic literature, and she just straight up came in and she went, "Sorry to interrupt, just quickly, is Gothic like a period or is it something else?" And
Give me a fiver and I'll let you know.
Have a seat. Pull up a pew. Here's some pen and paper.
Have you heard of time and a half
There'll be
for
a
two
quiz at the
students?
end.
Wow. Okay, well, I'm going to intermingle. How's the Etify order going?
I'm placing order now.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, I'll untick the old sign up for our newsletter
Wow.
bullshit.
And are they going to charge you that £10 delivery because you live outside of London?
I don't think we've ever mentioned that one.
No, that was a particularly poor moment in
I still
Declan's
haven't
life.
had that back.
No, but I think you gave up on pursuing it.
I
You looked
couldn't.
so defeated.
I couldn't. There was no point. There didn't feel like a point. Right, gotta get the old... I haven't got mine.
You haven't got your card on you?
No, it's all right.
You remember it, do you?
I remember one of them.
Go on, read it out for the listeners. Name 3 things you and your partner appear to have in common. That's question 8 of Toby's love quiz.
Now, I like... By your partner, it surely must mean the person opposite.
Yeah, and they're kind of presupposing. I think the quiz is trying to like ham-fistedly make
that
us
some
reframe our relationship.
Because I was going to say, the statistics on the amount of people that fell in love after this quiz is, it sounds even more immoral if they were all already in relationships. They just brought them into a room
seems to
and
have
brainwashed them.
Skipped it a little bit.
I can't remember any of these bits. Don't remember when it's supposed to run out.
Don't worry about it.
Let's have a guess.
It's probably 2019 or something, though, isn't it? All right, I'm going to think of some things that we have
So
in
come on
common.
then, what do we have in common?
Well, we both like Etify, but for different reasons.
No, we
Oh, no,
both-
is that just me?
No, that is just you.
Okay. Well, we both do a podcast.
Let's have a proceed.
What about the word appear to have in common? Does that suggest that we've got to pick things that actually we don't have in common?
That it seems like we do.
It seems like we do, but we don't. So,
I'm sorry, Isaac, but
what?
Sondheim.
You're not in. Wow. Well, turn off the
I'm
mics.
more of a Lloyd Webber kind of.
Someone,
chap.
when I went to get lunch today, someone awkwardly complimented my Sondheim badge
Okay.
for the first time.
22:35.
Yep.
Order confirmed.
Order confirmed. Okay, let's start the timer. Start timer.
It's all right.
You're going on the phone.
I'm on the old phone.
Oh, okay.
Except I did it stopwatch.
Yeah, I did stopwatch
Yours
as well.
is seconds behind. Yours is far less accurate.
All right, I'll close mine then. Go on, give me something else. I mean, something at all.
So something that we have in common,
Yeah.
or appear to, at least.
The whole show is kind of predicated on commonalities, so I feel like it's a little redundant.
Yeah, well, redundant for our listeners more so than the quiz.
Yeah.
I was thinking the other night
Uh-huh.
when we had some friends over
Oh, yeah.
that one of the things that we have in common.
Those particular friends.
Yeah, that's
Just about.
geography. Is our much lauded, I would say,
Maligned.
much questioned,
Right.
but also much loved by the listenership. Hatred of Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Oh, of course. Yeah, I forgot that he came up again, didn't he?
Yeah, you've
Yeah.
got to make sure that you get that in.
Yeah, because we hadn't talked about him for a while, and I feel like he'd probably, like, if he tuned in the last 20 episodes,
He might think we loved him.
he could have just assumed, and indeed, knowing Lynn as well as I do, I'm certain that he would have assumed,
Yes.
just on the basis that, he is who he is, that we were de facto fans. So it's good to have set the record straight there, and to remind just the community at large that Hamilton is wank.
Yeah. A love of staying up late into the night,
Oh, yeah. And
watching YouTube with some whiskey.
a related dislike for getting up early.
Very much so.
It's weird, isn't it? Because I've always assumed that I kind of fundamentally disbelieve that anyone doesn't hate getting up early, and yet some people are adamant that they are like perky morning people, like going to the gym before work and
I
stuff.
just can't.
But do you think they actually like it, or are they just lying to
I
themselves?
can't imagine that when anyone's alarm goes off, they just smile.
Hooray!
Oh, another day!
Dreadful.
That like kind of cartoon Lego movie happiness. I don't believe that exists anywhere really, but least of all in the mornings.
Immediate mornings. It was snowing as well today. What was that about?
I was thinking, because we've been playing a lot of a game called Quiplash lately, haven't we? It's like Cards Against Humanity, but you get to make up your own answers.
And there are no cards.
An
very little
absolute
humanity.
advantage.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
But one of the things that I am always reminded of when we play this game, certainly together, but perhaps even more so apart, is how similar our sense of humour is. Certainly
better than.
Well, yeah, obviously better than everyone else we know. But just in terms of certain people like to pluck for very obvious answers, and we're very much of the rando school of actually, if you can get as far away from the question and people's expectations as possible.
Abstract images.
And also, we're a big supporter, this show, of just humorous phonetics.
Oh, yeah.
Things that just sound funny.
Skleevage.
Skleevage. I was glad you were thinking the same thing. It was good.
Yeah. There is plenty of that to go around, definitely. Quiplash has become a really good vehicle for that. What about that time we played it for about an hour and a half as 4 different people, just the 2 of us?
Oh, yeah. Each powered by a random word generator. And it still came up with better answers than some of our friends.
About one of the ones was like, who would you least like to share a jail cell with? And my one came out as Suspicious Todd. That's such a fucking great answer. Oh, the fact that he's introduced himself. Hi, I'm Suspicious Todd.
And who are you exactly?
Okay, well, I think that's more than 3 things, isn't it?
That's loads.
Yeah, and also, as I've said, like the whole show is...
Our listeners know.
I think they do. Number 9. For what in your life do you feel most grateful? There's too many levels to this, so we should eliminate things like parents and like birth and just existence. And maybe we should eliminate things like being born into a first world country.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's just too big a ship to sail on right now. So if we put that to one side, we dock it, as it were. Let's try and make it something, I don't know, not trivial, but something off kilter. Not like, oh, I'm so glad that I haven't got congenital heart disease or something in my family.
So glad I don't live in a country ravaged by malaria.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I am,
well, I am
not
really
vocally grateful,
but
always in my heart.
Yeah. And also it's a kind of gratitude that one just takes as, you know, a given because we're so indoctrinated into this system of absolute privilege.
Not being a lightweight.
Oh, interesting.
I mean, I suppose in any sense, but most prominently in the drinking sense, because I just think it must be so sad if you're someone like flatmate Mark's friend, Dan.
Well disguised, buddy.
Who 4 drinks, even less than that, 3 drinks like that, is just gone.
3 drinks and gone.
It must
but
be
the thing
so
is,
debilitating.
Lightweights themselves like to play up the angle of like, oh, but it's such a cheap night out. Like, I don't need to spend very much.
But it isn't, because they all do. Because they all, A, keep buying for themselves and just get wasted. B, buy for others because they're drunker earlier on. And C, spend money on all sorts of shit.
Yeah, because once you're fucked, you just start buying all kinds.
Oh, yeah.
That's why Etify is a real trap.
Absolutely.
We've all got to avoid when drunk. Yeah, you can set up this thing on our BT parental controls that blocks certain websites at certain times. So maybe we should consider blocking Etify between like midnight and 5.
But those are the only hours in which I need it.
No. What about the lunchtime rush when you need a sachet of beef casserole?
I can just pop
Stat.
straight to the old Sainsbury's,
Oh, yeah, that's
and
true.
soon the Co-op.
Oh, I'm so excited about the Co-op.
It's gonna.
I think
it's
when the
gonna
Co-op comes
revolutionise.
out, when it comes out, like it's FIFA, when it comes out, I think we should put on our Patreon feed a video review of it. Like, in depth. I'm talking like 45 minutes of walking around the shop. Like,
layout.
it will look like we're trying to rob it though, won't we?
Yeah, but I'm on board.
I guess they'll know that we're not going to rob it because we'll be such regular patrons
No thief has ever spent 45 minutes at the scene of the crime.
in advance. Do you remember that time I had to definitely participate in criminal activity by writing a report on some business centres? And he was like, you have to go there.
That was.
We're going to pay you in cash.
I mean, when you say some crime, what you mean is 100% terrorism.
I don't think so. I think it was theft of some sort. And also, I mean, it wasn't crime, really. It just had some of the hallmarks of crime. Well, anyway, he got back in touch today. He wants another round of crime.
He wants you to wire a nail bomb for him.
He's like, just put on this vest. Don't worry about it looking a bit explodey. You're going to go right into the bank. No, none of that. Okay, so not being a lightweight is a good one.
Yeah, what about you?
I think, well, I
Don't think that I don't notice the way that you ask me all these questions and then hope to segue on without answering some of them yourself.
No, I'm very ready to answer. Just emotionally, I'm ready, but psychologically, I really don't put a lot of thought into them, if I'm honest.
No, I mean, we have all noticed.
Is that clear as day?
I've received a lot of private mail from the listeners.
Declan at shame.city. Subject line, wow. Subject line,
How do
low
you do
effort. Grateful. Well, I guess tying back to the theme of this show, dare I say, this Edify experiment, I've always been grateful of some kind of luck, which I obviously don't believe in a big way, but I feel like it's a combination of circumstance, attitude, privilege, friendship circles. I've always had quite good luck in just general. Like, there are very few things that I've really... The classic example for me is like whenever for about 9 years of school, whenever I'd not done something really important, without fail, there would be no consequences, because like if it was a bit of coursework, the teacher would suddenly be off for a week, or like all the school's printers would break and I'd have an excuse. I never ever got into trouble for that as much as I should have done.
As a counterpoint to that, cycling back to my life, right? I was the best student for the first 4 years or so of my secondary school and all of primary school. I was just the best behaved, hardest working kid in.
You were head boy as well, weren't you?
Yep.
Yeah.
Not in the first 4 years.
They put you straight
just
there.
put the
Like
crown
Harry
on me and
Potter
off
as a
I went.
seeker.
Yeah. And we had this piece of geography work once in year 9, and it was like a kind of intro to the idea of coursework. We had this term-long module on, is the Akosombo Dam good for Ghana? And you had to do it. There was an essay on
Is
that.
it? Can you tell me?
As far as I recall, it's fine.
I mean, it's all right.
It's a dam. What do you want? Holds a load of water. It's bad. It's good for the people who live right next to it.
Yeah.
Who would be,
Bad
drowned
for any
rats otherwise.
plants that want to grow on the other side, maybe. Or fish that would like to live just the other side of it.
It's a shame.
Yeah.
But then we did a piece about a terminal module about Brazil and about the various geographical versus human features of Brazil. And we had to do an A3 sheet on this. That was a combination of maps, diagrams, writing, all of this. I put so much effort into it. I fucking hated geography, but if it was anything
Very dull, isn't it?
such a boring
What about
subject,
people who do geography degrees? I
cannot
can't understand
be
them.
understood.
Yeah.
Who was it? Who was saying the other day that they had one?
I know a few people who've done geography. And
Very-
there's just
and-
like a light behind their eyes that's extinguished.
But also, I know some of the most interesting people I know have done geography degrees, and I just don't understand.
Maybe they've
I think-
done it as
I think
a kind of exercise in trying to breach that divide.
I think human geography is very interesting in many ways, in the kind of sociological sense.
You're saying that learning about the sedimentary layer is
But
dull.
the water cycle is
What?
about 5 stages, and I don't
Each
care,
more boring
I don't
than the
care
last.
which expert tells me so. There's no more to it than that. But anything that was about kind of physical presentation, I could do a bit of colouring in, a bit of drawing. I was like, I'm on board. I'll go for it. So I'd done this really great poster. I was really proud of it. And I fucking left it in the car getting out. So I realised immediate, but I didn't have a chance to, I couldn't ring because it wasn't in my parents' car. It was a friend who'd given me a lift to school. It was in their parents' car. So there's no way I could get in touch with them to bring it back because they'd gone to work. So I just had to go to the staff room.
Did you feel a sinking feeling?
Yeah, I was like, because I knew that the teacher would think, because I knew there were inevitably going to be loads of people who hadn't brought it in.
Yeah. But surely your reputation at this point.
Well, this
would
is
have
the thing.
Carried you through.
So I went and knocked on the staff room door. I was in really early, and I said, "Look, I'm sorry." That was when they were driving in. Okay, I don't like. If it makes up for it, I was late most days as a teacher. So,
Yeah, it does.
So I went and knocked on the staff room door, and he came out, and obviously he was in a huff, but like you say, my reputation held true enough.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I'm really sorry. I've left it in the car. I can have it to you tomorrow, but I haven't got it today. Mm-hmm. And he was like, this is he was doing that kind of, I'm very disappointed. And I was like, I know, I'm sorry. And he was like, okay, all right. Well, we'll talk about it in class.
Ooh.
Anyway, we turn up in class. Half the class hadn't brought it in. And so he was just going through the register. He was like, Adams, we got it? And he was like, no. Fine. Anderson, yeah. And he had to take it out, give it to him. And there was just a string after me, or just before and then after me, I was somewhere in the middle of it, of about 9 people who hadn't got it. And he got so angry that he was like, right, this is ridiculous. Everyone who hasn't brought it in is getting an after-school detention.
Ooh.
And I was like, no, I came and told you. None of these fuckers did. This is bullshit. And I had to go and plead my case and fight with him. And it was only because of as we said, my reputation. Give him a quiet handy under the desk. Sorry, sir. Can you mark something for me? Yeah, just come up to the front. But also that when I went to speak to him, a teacher who liked me was at the door as well, talking to somebody else.
Oh, that's helpful.
And was like, "Oh, go on, Phil. Don't
let him off,
don't
Phil."
Do this." And he was like, "Fine."
Wow. Oh, that's a good luck example then.
No, but I still had to. It was still incumbent on me to bring it in to him before 8:15 the next day.
Oh, you're right. That is shit.
Otherwise, I'd still get it. This is such horse shit.
Yeah, I don't think that's good, is it? I've never had too bad experiences with all of that, despite I could probably count on one hand the amount of work I've given in on time in my academic quote unquote career. But it always seemed to work out for the best, even at uni when they were there were some quite definitive deadlines, but you just talk to them. I remember the moment I realised that all of our lecturers were too awkward, with the exception of Claire Westall, to confront you about anything you ever did wrong. They were just nervous English graduate academic people, and they weren't going to have a go about anything. So you just move on.
Yeah, I didn't mind so much at uni. By that point, I'd given up really caring about
Just
much.
everything.
Although I did have the bad luck that time. I don't know if I've spoken about my my supervisor trying to get in contact with me at the start of second year. I think it was. No, it was third year.
Yeah.
And you had to go to this meeting with them at the beginning of the year, and I just couldn't be bothered because they're all early in the morning. First of all, can't be dealing with that. No. Second of all, it's 10 minutes long, but you have to make sure you're there. Anyway,
there's a lot of admin.
Yeah,
bullshit.
And it was just it wasn't even admin. It was just small talk for 10 minutes where I pretended I would try really hard. They pretended that I would, and then that was it. And so I just didn't go. Anyway, she sent me an email a few weeks into the term, be like, hey, haven't heard from you. And also, neither of some of your lecturers. Like, is everything okay? And I just thought, again, I can't be bothered. Like, I've missed a few things. I didn't want to talk about it. Fuck it, I'll leave it. About 8 weeks into the term, she sent me an email, the subject of which was email silence, ?
Ooh.
Which was, hey, still haven't heard from you. Just like checking in, making sure you're all right. Like, you haven't even seemed to have replied to any of the emails, let alone come and see me. You know, are you okay? And I thought, well, I can't get in touch now.
No, I mean, you can't break the streak.
We've committed too much. This is a combo.
Yeah.
So I thought I'll just leave it, and then I'll get to the end of the term. It's only 2 more weeks, and then I'll go to my meeting at the beginning of next term, and I'll be like, oh, sorry, I was having a really shit time. Anyway, it was one of the last days of week 10 of the term. I was going home in 3 days. I was in university on a Sunday.
Wow.
For a recall audition for a play. And I was supposed to go into the room to do my recall, and they were like, oh, this one's running a bit over. Just wait outside for a second and we'll see you there. And I went and sat in the corridor, and my supervisor happened to just be in on a Sunday and walk straight past me and be like, oh, hello.
It's you.
Haven't seen you in a while. And I was like, oh, Dr. Moran, how are you doing? She was like, I think you should come have a talk, don't you?
Wow.
I was like, for fuck's sake, 3 days. I just want to get home.
That's bad.
So then I had to go in, and then she was like, oh, I think the head of department wants to see you. Then I had to go and fight for my university career.
Goodness me. No one cared at all when I only saw my supervisor once, and it was on the first day of uni or the first week or something, and he offered me whiskey at 4 p.m.
I want your supervisor.
He was great. I can't remember his name, but he was quite hippie. He was quite often clearly high. He was good.
I only saw my dissertation supervisor once, which is why it really annoys me that if ever I do anything with it, his name still has to be on the
really?
front. Yeah, because
technically
it was under his supervision that I wrote it.
It was,
so he gets academic. Even though I went once, and
didn't he tell you to do something completely different?
Yeah, he was mainly a French literature teacher, and a French teacher at the university, and so he was like, I think you should do this more about the way that Beckett's translation of the plays from French to English. And I was like, but I don't speak, read, understand, or like French, so I don't know anything about that, so I won't. And he was like, I still think it's probably what you should do. And I spent an hour trying to convince him I'm definitely going this other route. And by the end, he just shouting in French. So I just went,
c'est impossible.
So in the end, I just went, yeah, okay. Anything you suggest I take a look at? He rattled.
Just pulls out a big map.
Le Français.
Allons enfants de la. This guy sounds mad.
The flag rolled down behind
a beret just falls on his head like a magnet.
It's just chewing on onions. But and he watched as I wrote down the names of these 10 or so authors that I look at. I'm like, yeah, sure, yeah, okay, yeah. And then I just never spoke to him again. threw those notes into the sea.
They probably ended up in
fucking
France.
first without the French bastard.
Oh, you should tell him that.
His last name was Minter. Isn't that a shame?
Minter.
Stephen.
He's a right Minter.
Stephen Minter.
Wow. Glad you've name-checked him.
Yeah. If you're out there, Steve.
I just thought of the apotheosis, or one of the clearest examples of the aforementioned luck when it came to dodging work, which is that at my secondary school, which was was and is a very it was quite struggling state school in quite a poor area. And so they foisted on you a couple of things. First, if you were someone who could pass GCSEs at a rate of more than 5, then you were going to take every GCSE under the sun.
Yeah.
To ramp those stats up. And second, they, in order to get more money, had become a design, like technology specialist school or something, like DT stuff, basically, which meant that you had to, much to my disappointment, pick a design tech subject for GCSE, of which there were textiles, which I did diligently until year 10 and was quite honestly very poor, as I think you might have guessed. The thing is, I wasn't bad at the sewing bit.
Patience.
No, but what I hated about all these design subjects, including the one I chose, which was food, is that the actual making is like,
oh, it's all about writing about it.
Not even that, it's all fucking drawing it. Why do I want to draw a plate of bolognese? It's going to look like a fucking worm pie.
That was the worst, the stupidest part about
So silly.
food tech, was them making you draw stuff,
And then
as if the creme de la creme, as it were, of this being the first week we ever did it, when we made soup. She was like,
you do a cross section?
Could you just draw a bowl of soup? It's just a bowl. That's just
real.
a bowl.
So it ended up that I chose DT food because it was that, or it was like resistant materials, which is just the worst thing ever. My friend Seth almost burnt the whole school down with one of those things that fold plastic. They're called a strip heater or something. So I didn't want to do that. And also the person who ran it just really didn't like me for some reason. She once I'd made my friend Matthew in food a concoction of like weird just stuff that was in there in a bottle. I was like daring him to drink it. And she came in and tried to charge me for wasting ingredients. I was like, okay, well, let's do this. How much do I owe you for this? And it was like 6p. It's fucking pathetic. Like, get a life. But anyway, it ended up that my Thursdays for 2 years were triple food and then double ICT, possibly in the reverse order. So I had 5 hours of 3 hours of food just in a row. It was the whole morning, and then 2 hours of ICT. And it was total nonsense. Not least of all, I've gone on a tangent, but I'll continue. The teacher, who was quite good, left or dropped out for a while for personal reasons, and was replaced by a string, much like Defence Against the Dark Arts, of ever more baffling individuals. One of them claimed that she was like related to Obama, and that her son was like the Attorney General of Jamaica or something, and that she'd met Tupac and like.
Please tell me she was white.
She was this old white French lady. No, well, she wasn't, but it also just wasn't true because I Googled her extensively.
Yeah.
And the only thing that she ever taught us to make week on week was not bread, but bread dough. We never actually got to do anything with it. We just make this dough and then just fuck it off.
That's because it definitely wasn't bread dough.
She used to just talk about yeast constantly and like how you had to treat
There's only so much to say.
Well, no, for her it was everything. You had to treat it like it was a kind of father figure.
Deity.
Yeah, pretty much. Like we had to dedicate a whole corner of the classroom to like leaving the yeast to just do whatever the fuck it does. So that was very strange. But then, I guess there are 2 points here. First of all, Matthew and I were in this class together, and obviously we'd done none of the work because it was 3 hours of total nonsense, and we had almost no supervision. So we used to just leave quite often, or we'd just be like playing games and stuff. Occasionally we'd try to invent new foods. Like we accidentally invented when you just boil sugar into like a syrup, and then you take a fork and just start like flailing it about, and it makes this giant nest, which is actually like a thing in fine dining. They make like a really nice sugar nest, but ours are a bit more erratic.
That's just like candy floss. We haven't really done all the work.
Yeah, it's lazy candy floss. So it came down to, we had to talk to like the head of the department because there'd been no supervision. Like no one had done the work because no one had told us what it was. We were supposed to have, for the 2-year period, prepared something like 30 different things as part of one great big piece of coursework that counted for maybe 70%
It's supposed
of
to
the
be
grade.
about 100 pages of A3.
Yeah, it was
ridiculous.
crazy. Like the amount was mad, and we had two sessions left to do it. So we sat down like the beginning of Ocean's 11 and planned out how in 2 hours or 2 or 3 hours or whatever it was, we were going to be able to do a year's worth a year and a half of cooking stuff where we had to like, we didn't have much money. So we were trying to like combine ingredients, be like, I'll make this. And then you just take a photo. You had to have photos of all the stuff.
Yeah.
So like I'd make a pasta, but then you put it into like a bake. So it counts as two different things. And then we'll swap back. And we planned this whole thing. And I think where Matthew and I differ in personality is that we both did it. Like we did all the work. And then Matthew just never bothered to write it up. And I did, like in a very lackluster way. So...
I can imagine Matthew
he was just like
making 50 meals and then just looking at it and going, no.
Yeah, but it was, we had so much fun for those few hours,
Yeah.
and we had like an amazing lunch. We had like people in to come and eat this stuff because we had to like wash up while we were doing it. It was intense. But then for the ICT one, a similar thing. We had one of my favourite teachers, Mr. Davis, who is like a 7.5 foot tall, blonde, ponytailed man back at the time. Aston Villa fan. Unfortunately.
That's a shame.
Yeah. He was in charge of the department and he was very hands off. Like we got on quite well and he didn't really care to ever check on what I was doing. And not being very emotionally mature, I didn't take that as like, oh, well, he's treating me like an adult. So the respectful thing to do would be to, just do the work. What I did instead was, have you heard of the game Copter?
I fucking love the game Copter.
2 years of that. Was
Google Play just clicking
great,
away.
Yeah. So it was basically 2 years of just fucking around and like, we had wheelie chairs in the big ICT room and a giant rectangular table that we'd all just like, whenever he'd go out of the room, and sometimes while he was there and particularly apathetic, we could just start a chain of like, you get like the biggest person at the front doing all the like pulling work around the table and everyone just holds on and becomes like this horrid flailing snake just going around. And then at the end of this 2 year period, again, very close to the crunch time, because I think ICT was all coursework.
Yeah.
And it was also 2 GCSEs separately, because it was like a one and a higher or something. And I started looking through like the final bit of documentation for like what you were supposed to have. You were basically supposed to have one big folder that had loads and loads of subfolders and loads of stuff that you'd done, like basically something different for every month. One of the things would be like, make an Excel spreadsheet about this, which is quite fast. But then some of them were like, make a website. And you're like, oh, well, I'm not doing that. And basically I'd done like comically little of it. I thought I'd been keeping up with like, but it turned out that even the other kids who'd been fucking around had actually done quite a lot. And it came...
That is always, I find, the worst moment when you're like, oh, there's so much to do here, guys, isn't there? God, I haven't done anything. And they're like, yeah, I know, no, so much to do still. And then you go, what have you got? And they go, just this. And you look at it and there's like, about 30 different documents. And they're like, what about you? And you go, yeah, about the same.
I had like 3 friends I sat near, Emmanuel, Alfie and Sam. And they were like fucking around just constantly. And yet in those last weeks, they had the one master thing was this like hundreds of pages of PDF of screenshots of every fucking step. And I was like, there's no way I can do this in this amount of time. The way it was marked was they moderate it internally based on a sample, and then they send another sample off to the external moderators to check. So the chances are like very high that one set is going to see at least something of everyone that has been done. And Mr. Davis came round and was like having a chat with people, just like going through their stuff. And he got to me and was like, so how's it been going? You like getting along well? I was like, yeah, it's, there's a lot of screenshots, but it's fine overall. And he was like, cool. How's it? I got 2 A's and no one ever checked. He knew, of course.
Yeah.
But because not only did he know because I'd been fucking around for 2 years, but he can, like, on their computer, they can see what everyone else is doing all the time.
Yeah.
And what I was doing was
Copter
and Pac-Man X, which is a really good game.
I've got 2 stories. One where mine is the opposite of yours.
That's the theme, isn't it?
And one where it's more similar. So the one that's the opposite was for A-level. I had a decent bit of luck in A-level in that because my A-levels were a fucking mess. When I started my A-levels, I was going to do medicine.
Really?
LOL. Yep.
So
for AS, I took biology, chemistry, maths, English and German. By 4 months in, I knew I was not going to do medicine. So I finished doing, partly because I didn't really care about people, but also because I wasn't as good at chemistry as I thought, and the biology was all ecology, which is boring as fuck.
Yes, it is. I had to do
So actually, the last straw of this was I said to my biology, like to my science teachers, that I was going to be dropping it at the end of the year. And my chemistry teacher was like, that's fair, don't worry about it. Like, just do what you can for your AS so that it doesn't look like a kind of like blemish on it. And I was like, yeah, that's fair. And my biology teacher was like, he was a guy called Declan Prendergast.
Wow.
And he was like,
he's like an upgrade.
You can't be doing that. You've got to try. You've got to do your best. You've got to make sure that you do this. You're a good student. You can do it. I know that you can.
You're going to be a great doctor, Declan.
And yeah, he was Dr. Declan Prendergast.
Oh, was he?
And I said, look, I can't. Not only do I not want to follow that path anymore, but at the same time, I'm finding the actual subject very boring because
you'd still be at uni.
I know.
That's
mental. Let's not pretend I would have been
You'd be
kicked
dead.
the fuck out. I'd have drunk a big bottle of formaldehyde and kissed this world goodbye. And he went, Declan, it's not. Look, there's a lot more interesting stuff at A2. You know that. It's. That's the doorbell.
Well, listeners have heard that. Do you think?
33 minutes. Imagine if it was just Mark. Shall I go?
Yeah, go and find out.
Let's go and find out.
While Declan's gone, I'm going to read an email for your benefit, listeners. I talked last week about having ordered 50 spiders on eBay. Plastic they are. 99p altogether they were. And I asked for your recommendations as to what would be the best way to progressively degenerate into chaos using these spiders. I didn't want to just like throw them into a jet engine. That's too obvious. I want something that's psychologically traumatic. Toby King has been in touch off of Milestones with subject on the spider menace. A suggestion, he says, for your spider jape. Find your least favourite neighbour in the block. Easily done. Place a single spider in front of their door. Every day add/replace the spider as appropriate. After spider 25, include notes of increasingly deranged scribbles. After spider 49, save the last one and put it by somebody else's door. Now, what I like about this one is he's captured the sense of progression, absolutely. There's a real build, isn't there? There's like a trajectory to it. It escalates in a big way. But he's also got this sense that once one phase is completed, we move on to another target, and that's its own reward. Declan is coming back. Etify bag. He's not coming back. He's going to the bathroom. Okay. We'll take a break and then he'll be back. Wow. Thank you. I didn't realise it was a giant one.
33 minutes.
That is quite special.
It's only because we're using it as an example of how it doesn't happen.
Well, and also I think it exemplifies what's actually become the theme of this episode, which is that we had questions about what we have in common. We've had a question that's led us to talk about things that we, don't share in the same way. And here we have my Etify yesterday in 20-something minutes, yours in a matter of months. But when we meet either side of this here microphone,
everything comes together.
And if that's not love, I don't know what it is.
What were you talking about beforehand?
Oh, we just read through Toby's spider email.
Oh, of course.
Which, just to recap, he wants us to put increasingly many spiders outside the door of a least favourite neighbour. And then when you get to the end of that cycle, you start putting them outside the door of another neighbour, so they like transfer.
I like that.
Before too long, people would be going mad with it, wouldn't they?
What
we'd have to wear the Batman mask when we did it.
What we'd have to do is make sure that after the first neighbour, we did it outside our own door, so people, don't suspect us.
That's true.
Before I left, however, I was talking about my biology.
Oh, yes.
And my teacher, my namesake teacher, who was trying to convince me to stay on.
Yeah.
And he was like, look, there's a lot more interesting stuff at A2. You're going to love it a lot more. I really think that you should stick with it. And I went, right, come on then. What's the first thing we do in A2 then? What's the course? And he went, and he looked at a little folder and he looked at me and he went, I'll level with you. It's the food chain. I was like, Thank you very much.
See ya, pal.
See you later.
That's lovely.
But the paperwork for me dropping it didn't go through straight away. So when I started year 13, I still had biology and chemistry on my timetable and had to go. They were like, no, you've got to go. And so I went to one and he gave me this big booklet and looked at me while I was doing it. And I was like, well, that's a no. Sorry, I'm not coming anymore. So I dropped those, but it meant that I only had 3 full A levels that I was doing in the end, which was, although I did a couple of other ASs to kind of bulk it up. So I was doing A2 English, German, and maths. Maths, got an A, right? I was bang in the middle, got an A.
Yep.
German, I scraped an A by the literal definition. At AS, I was 1 mark in the A on the oral exam and 1 mark out on the written. And at A2, the other way round. So it averaged out to exactly on the line.
Out.
In English, though, like you say, there are 2 sets. They both do it. And then one set gets moderated.
Yeah.
The exam board sees it, and then your coursework marks get adjusted accordingly. And it turns out that it was the other set's coursework that got moderated.
Oh.
So my coursework, which I'd gotten 88 or 78 out of 80 for.
It's pretty good.
And I was pretty happy with it. Got moderated down about 13 marks because the teacher of the other set, who were significantly stupider than we were, had given them all full marks.
Oh, that's a shame.
And they went, well, no. So everyone gets chucked down 13 marks. And it took me outside of the A star by 1 UMS. That was my opposite of your luck experience. However, at university, the great thing about English was that there were almost no exams.
Yeah. Very few.
The one exam that I had to do for English in second year was the critical questions exam. And we've spoken about critical questions before and what a bunch of horse shit
Total wank.
it was and remains.
Yep.
And that's why I did no revision for the exam.
Good choice.
Neither did our good friend Joseph D'Angelo.
Oh, yeah.
Now, exam week happened to coincide with Glengarry Glen Ross week.
Yes.
So
The play what we were all in.
exactly, and in fact, the day of the critical questions examination was our dress rehearsal day.
That's no good.
Not at all.
Oh,
so,
did you sleep in the barn?
well, I'd slept in the barn because that morning I had.
The barn was where plays were put on.
Yes.
It wasn't just
It was a tough time for me overall. That morning at 9 o'clock, I'd had a 3-hour German exam.
Bloody hell.
I know, which I slept through an hour of.
Good.
But so I'd said, look, after that, I'd said to Dange, come to the barn.
Yep.
I'll meet you there, and we'll just smash one of these topics.
Yeah.
Because the way that it worked was that each week we'd done a different topic, and there were basically 11 topics, and there would be questions on 10 of them, and you had to pick 2 and write them. And we were like, okay, comedy and tragedy that we've done this year are exactly the same subject. You just look at it from a slightly different angle.
Yeah.
So we've got that in the bag. That's easy. You talk about
Just needed one
Aristotle,
other.
you're done.
Yeah.
So we do one other. So we met up in the barn, and I mean, we went fairly stir crazy by the end of it. There was a beautiful moment because Dan was getting a couple of notes together for the comedy tragedy section, and he was looking at it and he was like, I fucking hate Aristotle poetics. And I was like, yeah, it can be quite dull. And he was like, I'm never looking at it again. That's it. After this exam, that's it. And I was like, what are you doing next year? And he looked at me and he went, performing ancient drama. And I was like, oh, you poor boy.
That was a great module, though.
But he we decided to revise orality.
Oh,
so
yeah.
the way in which spoken texts and stories differ from written ones, because it was pretty much the only interesting module on that course. And we got some fantastic quotes. We read a load of text. We kind of shared notes and got everything together. And we got into the exam in Central Hall, and Central Hall was inside a very impressive building, even though outside it looked like a hexagonal monster.
Yeah.
But essentially it was an auditorium. It was a seated auditorium, but they could push the seats back into one another so that it created 3 distinct levels. And I remember I was on the top level facing one direction, and Dan was at the same point on the second level facing the other direction. So I could look down to him and he could look up to me and we could see each other. And, as they come around, they, make sure that you're all sat correctly in the right place and they tick you off. And we kind of
brief you on impossible toilet breaks.
Oh, yes. And we looked at one another, gave a little nod of good luck, and the test began. And we turned this page over and looked through, and the one topic they'd eliminated this year was orality. So we were looking at this, and I just looked down, and I looked down, and Dan hadn't turned his paper over yet, and I watched him turn it over, read the list, and then just look up at me with a face that was a 50-50 balance of fury and despair, and then just looked down, and he just put his whole face into his hands and just shook his head for about 30 seconds, which was a great metaphor for my own soul. So what I did, the reason that this is actually a good luck story for me, is that I remembered somebody saying that each question is marked by a different person, that they kind of get the specialist on that to mark it. And so I thought, I'm going to answer the questions for comedy and tragedy, even though they were a near identical question. And I'm going to write the same essay twice.
That is good.
But I'm just going to change some of the adjectives here and there. Instead of saying, this is really happy, this is actually very sad. And just hope beyond hoping that they get marked by different people. So I nearly word for word wrote the exact same essay twice. I was just referencing it. I had it on a sheet of paper here and was just
tracing
it. Yeah.
Holding out to the light.
I just put it underneath and then did a little rubbing of it. And I think I used different books, but the exact same points for each, just flipping the adjectives, and handed them in. And I mean, they were both still very poor because I realised I hadn't actually done any real reading for any of them. But the other questions were impossible to answer. I mean, there's just nothing to say about unit ideas, as we've said before.
Nothing.
And I couldn't remember the names of anyone involved, so it would have looked dangerously thin on the old critical front.
Yes.
Just a lot of questions.
True.
And I handed it in, and I got 60 for one and 58 for the other. So it averaged out to 59, which was basically a 2-1. It was the highest 2-2 you could get. It wasn't going to damage my overall marks enough. But my favourite thing was that the higher mark to those essays, the 60, you got a single A4 sheet of feedback for both, which had your mark for both, and then basically a single tiny 2-sentence text box from the examiner about your performance. And my feedback for the higher marked of the two was, I don't really think that you understood the question, and you certainly haven't provided an answer to it.
59. Wow. Stringent, the University of York. Churning out degrees to anyone who wants one.
I tell you what, they worked for that Russell Group.
Yeah, squandering the whole thing. Well, look, we said we'd end when Etify came, and bar finishing anecdotes and just generally ending business, we will do just that. The episode has kind of emerged into a thematic piece, which I didn't expect. We've talked about the yin and yang, this balance that we bring. And I think that's, I don't want to say it's entirely the love quiz, but it's undoubtedly been a part of that process.
We're going to have to start sending Toby King some Patreon dollar.
I think so. I mean, he's done us a great service here. In the meantime, though, before we go any further, which is to say end the show, the furthest you can go from doing one, in fact, tell people how they can get in touch. We've got some more email that we haven't got to, but we will, of course, get to it as we always do. Mm-hmm. How can people go about sending those in?
Well, they can get in touch via email.
Yeah.
That's the simplest, the purest.
It's the classic form, yeah.
And you can do that by emailing us TAS, TAS, at shame.city. Some people type it all caps.
Yeah, I've found that quite aggressive, but, you know,
TAS!
whatever floats their boats.
Shame.city. But yeah, it gets to us either way.
Yep.
That's the beauty of the interweb.
It is pretty good these days.
You can also find us, or find your way, as it were, into our inboxes via the contact form on the website, which is shame.city/contact. Very helpful, that.
It is good, yeah. It has some interactive elements.
You can find us on Twitter.
True.
We've got a little poll going.
Oh, I'd forgotten all about
Although
that.
by the time that they hear this, the poll will probably be over.
Is it set to close?
I did it for a week.
Okay.
So,
Well,
yes.
we had a poll going.
We had a poll.
Sorry you missed it.
You can go and see the results of that.
Yep.
But we're pumping out a reasonable amount of content.
Yeah,
I saw
it's
you
not bad.
replying to a few gun.
Oh, I had a great fun.
Fanatics.
I was just in a really belligerent mood, and they were especially stupid.
I actually want to see if a guy has replied to me yet on
From
Twitter.
our account? Or
No,
from your account?
from my account. Basically, there seemed to be an argument going on about whether socialism was all right or not.
Uh-huh.
Whether not even socialism, just
Sharing.
whether we should give money to poorer people rather than
yeah.
giving tax breaks to businesses.
Wow. What was
Oh,
his
he has.
stance?
Oh, this is great. So, a guy called Simon
Yep.
replied saying, it was an Owen Jones tweet.
Uh-huh.
But Owen, you can only tax the rich so much, you know that, but looking at this completely the wrong way. We need to create good quality jobs, true, by investing in apprenticeships, potentially, and companies to create skills for areas with shortages. Someone responded saying, where do the funds come from that? Simple. You give a tax benefit to the companies.
Oh, clever.
It costs nothing to the government. No money is laid out. So there was a bit of back and forth between them, which ended in...
The good thing about that is that they're definitely incentivized to spend that on apprenticeships and,
rather
than just
themselves.
maximizing short-term profits.
in which someone responded to Simon. Simon asked for any better ideas than investing in companies.
There aren't
Someone
any,
said,
Simon.
Try an accountancy brackets or bookkeeping course, someone said. To which Simon replied, try running a business, which you can't do a course on. To which I replied, you can literally do entire degrees in it. And he has responded saying, it can never cover the in-depth knowledge.
University of Life. School of Hard Knocks for Simon.
For, what's that? Simon _71 UK.
Tell him how you feel about this. Did you go to the University of Hard Knocks? Did you flunk your critical questions module thereat? Let him know.
But you can find us on the Twitter.
That's a shame cast.
You can find Isaac personally at...
Isaac BD.
And myself at...
Cynical Declan.
Spelt the same as my name.
Yeah.
Though
that's
seemingly
just how you
pronounced
pronounce
differently.
That's all, isn't it? Oh, no.
You could do a review.
Yeah, shame.city/reviews. We'd love that. I haven't checked the reviews for this month. I don't hold out much hope, but we'll see how that's going. It does, warms our hearts, so there's that benefit. It boosts the show's popularity in some arcane sense, so that's another benefit. And it generally just keeps things ticking here at Shame
Makes us
Towers.
feel good. That's the bit that we really like.
Yeah, exactly. Other than that, I think word of mouth remains best of mouth in 2018.
It does.
Despite Trump's best efforts. I mean, he's firmly positioned himself against that ideal in private messages to our Twitter account.
Yeah.
But we're willing to stand up to that. But tell a friend about the show. Maybe you've got a friend. Maybe they've got a space in their life. Maybe they go on the tube every day. Pass on a message, text your granddad or whatever, and see how that goes. Until next week, of course. Oh, and if you're on patreon.com/ShameCity, there'll be some more bonus content. We've been pumping it out.
Like no tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll be recording some more. We've still got some we're owing you before the end of the month, so that's on its way.
Yes, because the end of the month is
imminent.
2 days, 1 day.
But no, we're on top of that in a medium way, I'll say, to be fair.
Yeah.
Until next week, I've been Isaac, you've been...
I've been Declan.
And we'll see you on the flip side.
Bye, guys.
Look for the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. I mean the bare necessities, oh Mother Nature's recipes that bring the bare necessities of life. Wherever I wander, wherever I roam, I couldn't be fonder of my big home. The bees are buzzing in the tree to make some honey just for me. The bare necessities of life will come to you. For the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. I mean the bare necessities, oh Mother Nature's recipes that bring the bare necessities of life. Wherever I wander, wherever I roam, I couldn't be fonder, my new home. The bees are buzzing in the tree to make some honey just for me. The bare necessities of life will come to you.